And I also got a good growth in the monetary terms. It was really double bogey in that sense. So currently I am working in pre-sales as a solution architect. I'm definitely happy about it. I was actively looking for job, and then I think in LinkedIn or somewhere I saw the reference to Wolf Mentoring, and then I reached out to Varun. I was thinking whether to go ahead with it or not. I again looked at some other possibilities. In the role I am, I know that it's always better to get expertise rather than doing everything by yourself. Those letters also give me an insight what I should speak in the interview. Identification of opportunity, crafting a specific mail, identification of contacts. These three key things were handled by Wolf Mentoring, it freed me up in focusing other parts where I am good at and where the company would see the value. It's Wolf Mentoring is not someone who will get you the job. They will help you get in the job. It's at the end of the day, you need to be engaged.
Following is a conversation with our client Ankur Dhami. We landed him a pre-sales role as a solutions architect. He came to us as a principal enterprise architect at Infosys. Stable job, good pay, no real problems on the surface. But he had been doing the same thing for years, and the growth he was looking for simply wasn't available to him there. He had been upskilling himself by completing courses on IoT, Azure, and AI. He had doubts about whether to focus on his interview prep before an active search to improve his candidature. But we were confident that he would do great in the market right off the bat. On his own, he was landing 3 interviews in the last 2 months. With us, he landed 18 and ended up with exactly the kind of role that he had been working towards. Now, what makes Ankur's story special is that he is a second time customer with us. He had already worked with us before and came back for his next move. So, without further ado, let's crack right into it.
Hey Naman, how are you?
Hi Ankur, how are you today?
Good, sir.
Okay, so initially, how did you land up with us? Because that's really what I'm personally curious as well. How did you find Wolf Mentoring? How did you land up in our first sales call? So, how was that?
So, okay, I think it has been a long time, but I read it. Look, again, I was actively looking for job, and then, I think in LinkedIn or somewhere I saw the reference to Wolf Mentoring, and then I reached out to Varun, and then I think after I had a good discussion with Varun, somebody else reached out to me, and then we had a discussion, and then I took a pause. I was thinking whether to go ahead with it or not. I again looked at some other possibilities. So after evaluating all these options, it's good what you guys are doing can definitely make a difference in my search. So I decided to move forward.
As known already, were there any blockers or anything that you were feeling skeptical about before joining with us? What were those factors?
So I think the biggest blocker is amount, whether you or one wants to invest such a good amount. It's a significant amount, right? So whether you want to invest this amount or not. So that was the biggest blocker. Otherwise, I have been taking these services a long time, and in the role I am, I know that, it's always better to get expertise rather than doing everything by yourself. About value of service is not at all a challenge. How much? That was a more difficult question for me to answer to myself.
Even after that, what exactly was that you got hold of our services, or you were convinced about certain factors of our services that made you finally decide that yes, you want to continue with Wolf Mentoring?
Well, so again, when it was like once I decided to go ahead with the services, I was completely into it. Before that, as I told you, it was more about this debate within myself, what services you are providing, the value associated it, about monetary terms, that how much I want to pay for it. I think those were the bigger questions. What was promised and what was done is all the time Wolf Mentoring was with me. So that was great.
What advice would you give to those people who are in a current position as you were before joining Wolf Mentoring? Any advice that you would want to give to them? And that doesn't have to relate to working with us. That's a total different scenario, but in general advice, how to keep themselves composed and what to look after in the future.
Thanks. And this is very important point, because when I started with Wolf Mentoring, it also took me some time to adjust with the team, with the pace. And, at the same time, everybody looks at the things with their own perspective. Okay. And I was also coming with my perspective. So, and I'm sure that that's why people will have a challenge. But at the same time, what is important is to see each other's strength. So the perspective needs to change. You will get the best when both strengths will get converged. Let's say, for an example, mentoring team does not know Ankur better than what I know Ankur. Okay. So, but they know market better than Ankur knows market. So I think once I started realize it, what is your strength, what is my strength, and then, as one thing let me know if I need to talk to any of those person or all of them together. I'm happy to do that. But it is not a single person game. It's Wolfman is not someone who will get you the job. They will help you get in the job. It's at the end of the day, you need to be engine. So I think that is something that has to be clear. At the same time, what is important is, there are a lot of good things coming out with wolf mentoring teams. First is identification of opportunity. Me or anyone else going into LinkedIn and identifying opportunity, they have a limit. Okay. Wolf mentoring with multiple people doing this job full time, they are much better in that sense. Second is crafting a specific mail or letter or LinkedIn message for those profiles. Now, once it comes, it would be almost 80 to 90% accurate. So that is a primary thing done. But then you need to add additional 10%, which might be more important from your side, which talks your USP and your experience USP. So I think that is another important thing. And the another important thing which Wolf Mentoring provides is about, finding the email IDs so you can directly approach those people. I think people who are not being passionate, they need to understand that, they need to use these tools to put a better case forward. In fact, I don't know if you guys are still doing it, because initially I did a lot of mock interviews, and hearing that recording was a game changer. Okay. But now when I'm talking to you right now after that, when I hear this recording, and if you try to talk me again, I'm sure I would improve. So, and it happens in interview. The first 5 to 7 interview is just like it's like a test match. You need to let it go. You need to get set before you start, scoring on. So I think that is something people will have to understand, that it's not a magic pill that you subscribe for service and you get the result. You will have to be equal participant to it, and you need to have patience, and you need to improve upon yourself. And one thing I would leave it, it's not about improving just for interview sake, but and for me personally, my thought process after going to so many interviews and after changing myself, how do I answer the interview question? Initial interviews, I was answering their questions. Later part of interviews, I was solving their problems. And once you go from one slash to other, you realize what is the difference game. And today also in job, I act more as a problem solver than answering someone's question. And that's a huge difference. It will stay with me throughout my tenure.
Okay, so the next thing would be definitely the most important thing in this room, that is your current role that you've just landed. So how do you feel about that? And what are your future plans with that? What is the one thing that you're excited about in this particular position?
So currently I am working in pre-sales as a solution architect. This is something which I wanted to have as a role. So I think I'm definitely happy about it. And I've also got a good growth in the monetary terms. So I think it was really double bogey in that sense. Am I excited about it? Yes, absolutely, because that is what I strive for. What is the most interesting thing for me in this role? I would say learning new things. Like, yesterday we had a demonstration to one of our clients. And yesterday, it was in afternoon. In the morning, I figured it out how I can connect my tool to Copilot, Teams, and Outlook all together. And when I present it to client, it's like, forget about client, even our own team, they also come out with wow, because they were also not surprised that, it's so seamlessly you can present an integrated tool across all the systems. And that's something, and again, it's not, while it is wow today, after a month or 2 months, it's going to be normal thing. But then staying at, this particular role allows me to do that, where I can do my research, showcase something which people are just thinking and are not seeing yet. So those are something which excites me about this role.
Okay, so what would you have to say about the process, like how we positioned your profile in the market, and what difference has it made if you were going into the market on your own?
Okay, I would answer it in 2 parts. Okay, first I would ask the second part that, what areas I see that Wolf Mentor say added value, compared to going in my own. And I would divide it mainly in 3 reasons. I mean, it's not only 3, but these are the 3 prominent things. First is identification of opportunity.
Yeah.
That is a great thing. Okay. Because, as a human, you can still search for so many jobs, but knowing it from Wolf Mentoring or getting somebody else to do it for you frees up your bandwidth, and you can use that time to prepare for interview better. So, and second is, during that, I mean, the good thing is in the first talk with Karan, we decided what are my 2 areas of things I'm looking forward to. And it was very focused and narrow it down, zoom it down to, I think, pre-sales on director applications and head of IT for small companies. These are the 2 profiles we put it, and in the same order. You might see still in my dashboard, the same thing written somewhere. So I think having that clarity and after that leaving go to wolf mentoring freed up my thing. That was the first biggest benefit. Second is job specific write-ups or cover letters and messaging. How it helped is it helped in focusing on knowing that what are the problems this particular company has, where your expertise can come and help them. And based on that, those mails or letters were created. And those letters also give me an insight what I should speak in the interview. Okay.
Mhm.
That was second big things, those personalized mail and messages for the jobs. And third important thing is identification of contacts. Okay. First two things I could still do it by myself. Third, finding out the context. Okay, there are lots of tools available like Zoom Info and Rocket something and blah, blah, blah thing. But still, it's a task. Okay. For every company, finding out 5-10 emails, why do you want to invest there? So I think there are lots of items which consumes high bandwidth and low value add when it comes to job and talking to company. Because I should, as a person, I should more focus on how to answer the question, how to solve the problem of that company. So what happened is when these three key things were handled by Wolf Mentoring, it freed me up in focusing other parts where I am good at and where the company would see the value. Those are the few things which I think added value.
Perfect. I'm really glad to have this conversation with you, Ankur, because in this month itself, I've had like 7 offboarding calls, but this one was the most, I wouldn't say cheerful, but valuable ones, because that's what exactly I really want that. And yeah, that was all.
Absolutely. Thanks, Naman.
Okay. Have a nice day, Ankur. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.